Men lose everything. Money, years, even their self-respect. Not because they loved, but because they loved blind. They didn't see the hidden moves, the unspoken rules, the instincts women never talk about. And that blindness is why breakups feel like ambushes, why divorce feels like betrayal, why so many men walk away asking, "What just happened?" The answer is here. These aren't random events. They're predictable if you know what to look for. So stay with me, because I'm about to reveal 5 secrets women don't want men to know, and they could save you from mistakes that millions of men have already paid for. Most men walk into relationships believing in fairness. They think, if I give love, loyalty, and effort, I'll naturally receive the same in return. It's a comforting belief. It feels logical. But here's the problem. Women don't operate by that system. They're not evil for it. They're not wrong for it, but they are wired differently. Women are guided by survival instincts that stretch back thousands of years. For them, attraction and commitment aren't simply about reciprocity or balance. They are about aligning with what secures the best future, the strongest protection, and the greatest advantage. This isn't something most women consciously plot on a piece of paper. It's a subconscious program running beneath the surface. And because men expect fairness, they miss what's actually happening in front of them. That's why so many men get blindsided. They don't recognize the signs because they're looking for evidence of justice, when what's really at play is strategy. They believe in loyalty points, in building emotional credit, while she is responding to biology, opportunity, and instinct. Here's the brutal truth. If you don't understand these rules, you're not even playing the same game. You can spend years investing, only to wake up one day and realize the rules you believed in never existed for her. The way forward isn't paranoia. It's awareness. Stop listening only to words. Watch actions. Watch consistency. Understand the patterns. When you start seeing reality clearly, you stop being the man who gets blindsided, and you become the man who's always 2 steps ahead. Number 1, monkey branching. This is one of the hardest truths for men to accept because it feels deeply unfair. Monkey branching is the idea that many women rarely let go of one relationship without already having another branch to swing to. Just like a monkey doesn't release one branch until its hand has grabbed the next, many women won't leave a man unless there's already someone waiting in the wings. Here's how it often plays out. She tells you she needs space or that she's confused. You think she's reflecting, maybe taking time to figure herself out. But in reality, there's usually another man already in her orbit. Sometimes she's been talking to him for weeks, sometimes months, and she's simply waiting until she feels secure enough to make the jump. That's why so many men feel shock when a breakup happens. One day she says it's over, and within days, or even hours, she's in someone else's arms. For you, the breakup feels like a sudden earthquake. For her, it was a carefully timed step she had been preparing in silence. Why does this happen? Part of it is social conditioning. Women are judged harshly for being alone or for openly pursuing multiple options, so they protect themselves by ensuring they're never left empty-handed. Another part is biology. Security and continuity matter more to them than the romance of a clean break. Survival instinct tells them it's safer to have a backup than to risk the unknown. The emotional punch for men is realizing how quickly this can occur. You might believe there's a grace period, a respectful pause, some time before she moves on. But in truth, transitions often happen faster than men dare imagine. It's not uncommon for the next relationship to overlap with the last, hidden behind the curtain until she's ready to reveal it. And here's the real danger. While she's lining up her next branch, she may keep you on a string with the classic "let's stay friends" routine. It's not about genuine friendship. It's about keeping you as an emotional safety net, someone she can fall back on if the new option doesn't work out. If you take only one thing from this, let it be this: don't let yourself be the backup. When a woman ends things but still tries to hold on to you just in case, recognize it for what it is. Self-preservation on her part, not loyalty or love. Your power comes from clarity. When the branch is released, step back. Don't wait for her to swing back to you, because if she does, it will never be out of pure devotion. It will be out of convenience, and you deserve far more than being someone's backup plan. Number 2, hypergamy doesn't care about relationship equity. Men are taught from childhood that hard work pays off. If you put in the hours, if you sacrifice, you eventually get rewarded. Naturally, many men carry this mindset into relationships. They think, if I love her, support her, fix her car, raise her kids, and sacrifice everything I have, surely that creates a kind of emotional bank account. I deposit enough, and when I need it, I'll be able to make a withdrawal. Here's the brutal reality. That account doesn't exist. Hypergamy, the instinct that drives women to seek the best available option, doesn't keep score the way you imagine. She's not looking at the balance sheet of your sacrifices when she evaluates the relationship. She's comparing her current situation to what else is out there. If she perceives a better deal, your years of effort weigh almost nothing against the possibility of something more. That's why men who bend over backwards are often the ones left in shock. They believe loyalty is secured by investment. But investment only matters if she still sees you as her best option. The minute she doesn't, the years of cooking, fixing, paying, and supporting evaporate in a heartbeat. The emotional punch here is this. You could spend a lifetime building, but she can walk away in an instant if she sees something better. And it won't be about fairness. It won't be about all the times you deserved credit. Hypergamy is not cruel. It's indifferent. It doesn't operate on fairness. It operates on perceived value. Men who don't grasp this cling to the illusion of security. They double down, giving more, sacrificing more, hoping to lock in loyalty through effort. But the more they give, the more they risk becoming invisible. Because what matters isn't how much you give, but whether she still feels you are her best possible choice. So what's the way forward? Stop playing banker in a game that doesn't honor your deposits. Invest in yourself. Build your strength, your confidence, your independence. A man who understands hypergamy doesn't resent women for it. He adapts. He makes sure he is constantly leveling up, not for her, but for himself. Because when you live as a man of value, you're not bargaining for loyalty with effort. You're commanding loyalty with presence. That shift changes everything. It pulls you out of desperation and puts you back in control. Number 3. Women spin more plates than men realize. When men date casually, it's usually out in the open. They'll admit to friends that they're seeing multiple women, and society often criticizes them for it. But when women do the same thing, it tends to happen under the radar. They don't announce it, they don't showcase it, and they certainly don't tell the man they're dating. Here's the reality. Women often manage multiple options at the same time. Some of those options are romantic, some are emotional, and some are simply in case. They may not even label it as plate spinning themselves, but the behavior speaks for itself. She might be texting one man while planning dinner with another, while keeping a third hanging with occasional attention. I once heard a story from a man who glanced at a girlfriend's phone. In her contact list, he noticed names like Dave, lawyer, Chris, contractor, Philip, accountant. These weren't harmless notes. They were a coded way of tracking who brought what to the table. To her, each man was not just a name, but a potential role, security, money, adventure, or backup. This is why so many men are blindsided. You think you're the only one, the special one. She tells you she's not really seeing anyone else, and you take that at face value. Meanwhile, you could be one of several men orbiting her at the same time. The emotional punch is this. While you're investing in her as if she's the only woman in your life, she might be keeping her options wide open, evaluating which plate spins most smoothly. And in her world, spinning plates is not betrayal, it's insurance. Why does this happen? Because women carry more social risk when it comes to dating. Being openly non-exclusive can bring judgment, so they keep it quiet. But the instinct behind it is survival. Having multiple options lowers the chance of being left with nothing. So what should you do with this knowledge? Don't be naive. Don't assume exclusivity until it's explicitly agreed upon and proven by consistent action over time. Stop confusing attention with commitment. Pay attention to patterns. Does her availability fluctuate? Does she disappear for stretches? Does her story shift depending on the day? These aren't accidents. They're signals. The point isn't to demonize women for plate spinning. The point is to wake up to the reality that your position might not be as secure as you imagine. And once you see that clearly, you'll stop over-investing in someone who hasn't made you her priority. Because in the end, your value isn't measured by how well you can compete for a place in her rotation. Your value comes from knowing you don't need to compete at all. Number 4, women get bored faster than men. If you look at long-term relationships, you'll notice a pattern. Men often settle into stability and routine, while women begin to feel restless. For men, comfort feels like success. He thinks, we've built a life, we've got our rhythm, this is good. But for women, that same rhythm can quickly turn into monotony. What feels safe to you may feel suffocating to her. Research backs this up. In marriages and long-term partnerships, women initiate the majority of breakups and divorces, often around 70% or more. Why? Because while men's desire tends to fade gradually over time, women's desire often plummets soon after the honeymoon phase is over. Once the novelty fades, so does their passion. Think about the timeline. You might still feel content 5 years in, even if things aren't perfect. But she may already be daydreaming about what's missing, what could be better, or who else might provide the spark she no longer feels with you. That's why so many men hear lines like, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. It's not that something catastrophic happened. It's that her emotional and physical interest drained much faster than yours. Here's the emotional punch. While you're still telling yourself, we're doing fine, she may already feel trapped. You're okay with the routine, but for her, routine becomes a cage. By the time you notice the problem, she's often mentally checked out, planning her exit or searching for an escape. This doesn't mean every woman is doomed to get bored. But it does mean men can't afford to go on autopilot. Too many men lose their edge after commitment. They stop growing, stop flirting, stop challenging her to stay invested. They assume stability equals permanence. But for women, stability without excitement often equals decline. So what's the lesson? You can't rely on comfort alone to hold a relationship together. You must continue to cultivate attraction, novelty, and growth. That doesn't mean becoming someone you're not or living in fear of her leaving. It means refusing to stagnate. Stay ambitious. Stay curious. Stay unpredictable in the best way. Because if you don't, she'll seek that stimulation elsewhere, or she'll simply leave. Remember this. When you're satisfied, don't assume she is. The pace of boredom is different for men and women. And if you don't account for that difference, you may one day realize you were left behind, not because you were a bad man, but because you stopped evolving. Number 5. Women cheat as much as men, but the timing is hidden. For decades, the narrative has been clear. Men are the cheaters, women are the victims. That's the story society tells. But the data and real-world experience show something different. Women cheat at nearly the same rate as men. The difference isn't frequency, it's visibility. When men cheat, they're sloppy, careless, even proud. When women cheat, they're quiet, strategic, and discreet. Here's the unsettling truth. Most women who step outside a relationship don't do it impulsively. They do it during specific windows, often when they feel disconnected from their partner, emotionally neglected, or when their biology sharpens their drive for novelty and desire. At those moments, the risk of crossing a line spikes dramatically. What makes this harder for men to accept is how hidden it can be. She might not change her schedule, she might not seem distant, and she might still say, "I love you." Meanwhile, she's exploring a connection that fills the gap she feels you no longer do. To you, life feels normal. To her, she's already living a double story. The emotional punch is this. When you tell yourself, "She's different, she'd never do that," you're blinding yourself to reality. Biology doesn't make exceptions for your relationship. Even the woman you believe would never stray is still human, still driven by the same instincts. And those instincts don't disappear just because you think your bond is strong. So what should men do with this information? Not panic, not control. The worst move is to try to cage her, to monitor her every step, to suffocate her freedom. That approach only guarantees resentment and distance. Instead, the answer is to become the kind of man she doesn't want to risk losing. That means cultivating strength, presence, and purpose. It means living a life so full of direction and ambition that your relationship is drawn into your orbit, not the other way around. When you're grounded in your own power, you don't need to worry about whether she's tempted elsewhere, because she knows leaving you would mean losing far more than she could ever gain. The point isn't to suspect every woman of betrayal. The point is to stop living under illusions. When you understand that women are just as capable of disloyalty as men, you stop putting blind faith in words and start building the kind of reality that makes loyalty the obvious choice. Because at the end of the day, control is an illusion. Influence is power. And the man who knows this never fears betrayal, because he knows he has already become the one worth staying with. You've now seen 5 truths most men never hear until it's too late. Women rarely leave without another branch ready. They don't measure loyalty by how much you've sacrificed. They measure it by whether you're still their best option. They often keep multiple plates spinning, no matter how convinced you are that you're the only one. They get bored with routine faster than men do, which is why so many divorces start with them. And yes, they cheat just as much as men, though they hide it far more effectively. These aren't accusations. They're realities. Women are not villains. They are human beings wired with instincts, strategies, and survival mechanisms that men often fail to understand. The problem isn't that women operate this way. The problem is that too many men remain blind to it. They cling to illusions of fairness, reciprocity, and permanence, only to be crushed when reality doesn't match the fantasy. Here's the truth you need to hold on to. A wise man doesn't become paranoid. He becomes aware. He doesn't cage his partner with suspicion. He strengthens himself with clarity. When you understand the rules, you're no longer a pawn in someone else's game. You step into the role of the man who can't be played, because you see the board for what it really is. And this is the emotional turning point. Being awake doesn't make you bitter. It makes you free. Free to choose better. Free to walk away when you see manipulation. Free to build a life where you are the prize, not the backup plan. Remember this. An awake man isn't the one who doubts women. He's the one who understands them. If you found value in this, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and share this with another man who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of these truths hit you hardest and what you've seen in your own relationships. Your story might be the wake-up call another man desperately needs. And remember, this isn't just about avoiding pain. It's about reclaiming your strength, your confidence, and your freedom. Because the more men wake up to these realities, the stronger, wiser, and harder to manipulate we all become.